Well, hello, everybody. Did you read my letter? Looks like some of you did. Are you guys hearing me? Oh, yeah. Okay, good. I was waiting for a response just to make sure. The first couple of times I went live, my microphone wasn't plugged in right, and it took forever to get it to work. So now every time I come on, I want to say, "Can you hear me? Can you hear me?" And then afterwards, I'm like, "Oh, that was really terrible." Reporting for anti-bully service. Yes, yes, yes. This is the right place for that. Thank you very much, RB. Cassidy, I was there over the last 2 live streams as the Van Zandt bullies made you cry. Props to Omar and Leanne for jumping in to support you. Your letter on the court docket is kick butt, stand proud, and stay strong. Thank you, guys. Thank you very much. So let's talk about this letter. So first of all, let me clear some things up. I got a couple of frantic messages, worried about me getting in trouble and not making the judge happy. I am not a party to this case. I am not at his mercy. This subpoena should not have come out of his court. I don't know how much you guys got to read, but we're going to go through the letter and we'll talk about the case law. If you've been with me for a while, you know this case law already because we went over it a lot when we talked about the Doe lawsuits. We also went over it when we talked about Stephanie Jones versus Meta, the other case going on in California that is exactly like this case with us content creators. And I'm sure you've probably already all heard that she's moved on. She, as far as I understand, she took the very same subpoena that she issued for us. Oh, really? Mildly. Reddit usually hates me, so that's a surprise. I don't go there. But she took the very same subpoena from what I understand, but correct me if I'm wrong, because I only heard this, so I'm not saying this as fact. So keep that in mind. I've had a lot to deal with, not just this stuff, but other like real life stuff. So I haven't had a chance to look at it myself, but from what I understand, and I will correct this if it's incorrect, the same subpoena that was served on us, because you can't just willy-nilly with this huge number of subpoenas. So what she's done is she's recycling this subpoena. Like my subpoena went to 16 different YouTube creators. And from what I understand, again, unverified, so don't go tell people Cassidy said this. This is what Cassidy heard. Um, she took the same subpoena and amended it and now has added 20 X users. It's out of control. She had told the judge when she got the discovery deadline postponed that she had some more to serve in the same way as the ones that had been served on me and the other 15. But the interesting thing is it was the same. If it's the same, that means she might have plenty more out there. So far, it's been YouTube, TikTok, and X. There are other social media platforms yet to go. So it could be any of those next. It could be Instagram, it could be Reddit, it could be Discord, it could be I don't know how many of them are. I stick to Instagram and X. Oh, thank you. Had to get some tea. I got a little bit of congestion today. I think it's probably just allergies, so my throat's a little bit rough. Reddit scared. You know what? Everyone should be scared, but you know what? I'm hopeful. I went guns blazing, and you know what? Chicken butt. No, not that. I'm not scared. I'm not scared because I am not a party to this case. I don't need the judge's good favor. I don't even need him to grant this motion. I needed a court-stamped document that I can forward to Google, and then it's Google's fight. If it goes beyond this, if Google is not able to effectively quash it, that's when we pull in the attorneys to fight it beyond that. But here's the thing, the law is on our side. Did I get snippy with the judge? Oh, absolutely. He got the full. Hold on just a second, guys. I got to mute for just a quick second, okay? Okay, thanks. Sorry about that. We've been angry for a long time, seeing the injustices that we have seen, or as we see them as injustices, for a long time. This was ridiculous. This should not have been allowed, and like I said, we're gonna go through the law about that. If I have to be the one to take the blast, I'm fine with that, because I'm not just defending myself, I'm defending all of these creators who were unjustly served with this subpoena, and I'm defending my family. There's a lot of psychopaths out there. We saw that when the Wayfarer parties were doxxed by Blake's attorneys. Every single one of them got a death threat. Steve Sarowitz got the worst of it. He got his college-age daughter followed around to her apartment to find out where she lived, threatened with kidnapping. His wife was threatened, and somebody set fire on their property. This is crazy stuff. And I may be a nice person, but like I said in the description of this video, if you bring even a threat of possible harm to people I love, you'll meet a side of me you didn't think possible. I will fight you to the death. I mean, because here's the thing, it's not a big deal to find out who I am. I would rather that not happen. And by the way, my president was nice enough to submit this in her name. So they have not, because it was my YouTube channel that was subpoenaed, not me as a person. And it's an LLC. So I'm still safe. But they're not going to find anything on me. I have never communicated with the Wayfarer people. None of them have ever reached out and talked to me. I was never paid by any of these people. Nobody had to pay me. What I speak on here is only what I believe. Nobody tells me what to say. I say what I want to say on my channel. I wouldn't accept money from anyone to say something on their behalf. That's not what I'm about. I have a lot of integrity. Like I said the other day, I have never asked for a like for my channel. It just feels weird to me. I think if you like it, you'll like it. And if you don't have to. But I'm not going to ask you to do that. I've never asked, not one time since I first started, for anybody to subscribe to my channel. I figure if you like it, you'll subscribe. If you don't, you won't. Or if you like it and subscribe and later change your mind and unsubscribe, that's fine. That's not what I'm about. I limit how many commercials, how many ads can run on my videos. I think the lives, you can't do that, but the ones that I prepare in advance, I go through and I will not let them be closer than 10 minutes. That's how I set them up. Sometimes YouTube arranges them differently than what I've set it up, but I limit it because I can't stand watching like a million ads when I'm watching something. And it just disrupts the flow So I try to go through and find a good spot to put it. This isn't about money. And I've said it before. I think it's social blade. You can go and you could see how much a YouTuber makes. People that keep saying that we're reporting on this to make money have no concept of how little we get paid, especially when we're first starting out, and then slowly you start to make more per 1,000 videos if your channel does well. It is not enough to live off of, it is not a great deal of money, and it is not worth selling your soul over. It's something that you do because you enjoy it, or you feel like you have something important to say, or you feel a sense of community. But I think I've shown anybody who's followed me from the beginning especially, I think I've proven myself to you. I would never take money to say something for somebody else. I speak for myself. That's it. Tag gave them my name. I didn't see it in the document. If they gave my name, yeah, I want to see that because prove it then. Prove it. When wasn't Tag hired during the whole um the actual 2023 or was it 2024? I didn't even know who Justin Baldoni was then. I didn't start reporting on this until February. I want to see the proof of this because this is a lie. This is an absolute lie. Look at my channel and see what I was reporting until February of this year. This is not, she's lying. Absolutely lying. And if they did, go through tag stuff and find the communication. It never happened. Never happened. I'm gonna take a drink real quick, so I'm gonna mute for a second. Yeah, bring that on, Ezra. Bring it on. It didn't happen. So, idiot. She probably saw that we're reporting her to the board or to the bar, and she's getting frantic. But it didn't happen. So anyway, yeah, I didn't even know who Justin was. I didn't know anything about this movie. I didn't know anything about this book. Whatever, Ezra. Liar. So, as far as like what I was saying, I'm not a party to this case. I don't have to kiss anybody's ring. I needed what I needed from this court. I got a court stamped document that says you do not have my permission to share my information. That gets forwarded to Google, and then it's in Google's hands. And we'll see where it goes from there. But that will take place in California in a cleaner court than this court. So, and here's the other thing. I am not a party to this case. This was not filed as an attorney to the court. This was a non-party's layperson's response. Did it cite law? Yes. I can say what I want. I didn't defame. I didn't slander. Everything I said was true. So don't be afraid for me. I'm not afraid. I am calmer today than I have been in days because my stuff is finally there and I've got my stamp. And hopefully everybody who's coming behind me will get the same stamp. And we will make it known that the Southern District of New York is not its own country. It is part of the United States, and it must acknowledge and respect the First Amendment of the Constitution. It is not above that. This court has been doing whatever the heck it wants to do from the very beginning. There have been bad decisions made, and I can say that because it is my right to say it. It is my opinion. I stand behind it, and I will say it. There is something wrong happening in this case. There are bad decision after bad decision being made. Blake is being completely just like this thumbnail here. She got an extension on discovery specifically to do what she's doing, to come after these people just like me who have expressed our First Amendment right to say our opinions, and we are protected. And you know what? One of those cases that I cited today, Sony, happened in the Southern District of New York. We have a legal ground, a legal standard that has already been set long before this case that gives us the right to do this. And we're supposed to have been protected. And guess what happened today? As I knew it would, which is why I took the safety measures I did, that name was put out there. That was wrong. But there it is. So if anyone's saying, "Oh, she should have been more respectful to the judge," I'm sorry, I'm not a child. When you're a child, you have to show respect to adults, whether they deserve it or not. But I'm all grown up now. And if you treat me like garbage, don't expect me to be nice. I don't care who you are. And if you bring a threat to my loved ones for this kind of garbage, for Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds, I don't respect you at all, and I will not pretend that I do. There's a judge that I absolutely adored. He's retired now. He just retired last year. Judge Newman down in South Carolina. One of the only honest judges down there. And he was treated so poorly. He's a black judge and went through some of the worst times in this country, overcame it all, made something of himself. And I had a chance to attend a hearing in his court, and it still gives me goosebumps now to say it. But I remember posting that I had the honor to stand in his courtroom when they announced he was coming in, and we got to rise for him. And it was a beautiful moment because this man was a righteous judge. He did his absolute best, and he dealt with the worst criminals, some of the worst attorneys you've ever seen, and he was always calm. Oh, there we go, Jane. Jane, I was looking for you. I really was. Yes, she's one of my longtime Murdaugh people. Judge Newman with his wife. She sat right there in that court with him, knowing it was going to be the difficult trial, one of the most difficult trials of his life. And they had just lost their son weeks before the trial began. And she came and sat in that courtroom with him and his daughter sometimes, who's a judge herself. And that man deserved to be honored and respected. And it was a beautiful moment that I will always remember, to stand, to rise before him. And I loved it. He deserved it. But not everybody who has the title judge deserves it. There we go. Oh, I got the wrong one. Got the wrong one. I always do that one of these days. Oh, yes, Judge Moment. Bring the jury. Absolutely. Absolutely. So, how did you get some? No, I've been writing this for a week. And some of it was a lot of the pages were the subpoena and exhibits that I added, because I took the transcript when Ezra lied about Ezra lying and having her receptionist. She's been there. I didn't try. I wasn't even going to bother. I knew it was a waste of time. I knew it was an exercise in futility. I didn't call her myself, but several of the content creators who were subpoenaed did. I'm going to move my microphone and it's going to squeak. I've got it on a little arm stand in it. There you go. It always squeaks. But sorry, I need another drink. Hold on just a second. My mouth is so dry because I took allergy medicine. But anyway, so yeah, so I spoke honestly, and you know what? This judge, do you think he's been respectful? Because I haven't seen it. The way he Thank you, Amanda. The way he cut people off, the way he cut off Kevin Fritz during a hearing, he didn't know what Kevin was going to say, but because he mentioned the content creators, he shut it down immediately. It was extremely disrespectful. There have been many such times that he's been like that. This man does not deserve my respect, and I'm not going to give it to someone who doesn't deserve it. I'm too grown for that. The way he treated me as a content creator under this subpoena that should not even have existed. No, I'm not giving him any more respect than he gave me. Thank you, Tiff Cassidy. It was truly an incredible document. Thank you. I worked on that 4 days and almost 4 nights straight. Barely ate, barely slept. I wrote it and rewrote it and rewrote it, and then I asked Leanne to take a look at it. She added 3 different parts. And if you joined that live, we went through it. It's kind of long though, so I intend to go through and make a not live version of the document. That's kind of like how I go through the documents usually, so that there's no interruptions and it's me just doing it, and it's much shorter and more concise. But if you saw me go through it live, I went through each part that Leanne added. I think she added like 3 parts that were really, really good. And then today I was so angry. I had seen that there was an order yesterday that refused it again and said you have to de-anonymize or file a motion. And this kind of motion is really hard to get. The one that he said I would have to get. I knew it was a waste of my time, and I just wanted my stamp. So I came up with plan B. But at the time I wrote that letter, I got up today and I actually reread the order from yesterday. And I was so angry once I realized exactly what it said. Yesterday, I just kind of glanced at it because I was going live with Omar and I was so tired, and I was trying to have just like a wind down evening and just chill. So I didn't really read it so much. But when I read it today and I realized what he said and how wrong it was, and someone had left a comment, and thank you. I should have written down your name. I can't remember the name. Someone had said in my comments, he used the wrong case law, and that's what made me go back and read it. And I was like, wait a minute, he used case law that's referring to parties in the case. I'm not even a third party. I'm a non-party that a third party was subpoenaed for my information. How dare you say that I have to appear before the court like a party? So that's the mindset I was in when I wrote that letter. And I'm like, you know what? I'm sick of this. I'm sick of this. And I want my stamp. I want to get it out of this court, this kangaroo court, and where it belongs in California, and get it dealt with properly there, and get this nightmare over. And you know what else? Hopefully, if we can get this nonsense out there and reported on, and these complaints filed, that they'll stop sending these ridiculous subpoenas out to everybody, because who knows how many of you here in my chat or on X or on Instagram or on Reddit are next in line to get these. And it was a scary situation initially. And attorneys are expensive. Not everybody can afford it. And we talked to a few about like all grouping in, but like I was told, that gets hard because everybody's from a different state. Some people might want to just file this and then give up. Some might want to fight it to the end. So it's a lot of conflicts. So attorneys weren't so willing to like take a group on all in one, even though the subpoena is one subpoena. And I understand that because of a really, really nice attorney in New York explained that to me. And if I do end up having to hire one, he will be the one. But if we can handle this, by these actions, by making this known, by getting it on the docket, getting people talking about it, by filing these complaints, hopefully it can save some of you from being next to be subpoenaed. And if I can do that, I will feel amazing. Or if I can just be just one little part of that happening, I will feel very satisfied and fulfilled. And I'm going to put my motion out there. I haven't figured out how to share it in some way. I know Lauren shares things sometimes. I'll have to see if I can post it on hers. I don't know how she puts the documents out for everybody to read. But I would love to put it out there, so whoever of you, even if you don't like me, if you get a subpoena, take my motion, and you have to take out the specific parts relating to me and put your own, but it's it's out there for the public. And thank you, Green Fox. Any chance they got creator names from Abel's more recent text she may have been sending? None of us that I know of, at least, none of us were contacted by Wayfair. But this is a ridiculous accusation. It truly is. I think they just got names of people who don't like Blake. But 60 outstanding subpoenas. Here's the weird part. We never found all 16 of the people on YouTube. And some of the people, the X list was different. I think it showed more people. Hey, Elsrich. Have you gotten yours yet? I know that they've sent you one. I'm afraid. I've been saying that in our little chat. I'm like, I know they sent one to Elsrich. I hope she's checking her spam folders and she doesn't have an email she forgot about, because I know they want you bad, because you are the boss in this community. You find everything and you expose it all, and I love it. But Elsie, if they get you, get my motion, copy it, whatever. If you want to change it more, I know Leanne has offered to help. I will help. Just contact us and we'll set you up, because we're in this for everybody. And what a day when Elsie's in my chat. I am fangirling a little bit here. You still don't have one? And then I wonder, because they got Leanne's wrong a little bit. I think they're missing a number off the end of her name or something. So I wonder if some of them, but see, like our subpoena with YouTube, we could only see our own names. We weren't able to see who else was on there. So the X one, I think, did show more, but who knows how many she's going to go after. But we got to stick up for each other, because this has got to come to an end. This is nonsense. And the court extended the deadline for her discovery specifically for these. And if they're saying that they found our names on some list, that is nonsense. Absolute nonsense. Because like I said, I never would have seen myself as someone who was talking about a Hollywood thing. Like, it's insane. It was the timing of when I took a break because my cousins died, and I couldn't speak about death and murder because I was grieving. And I tried to record some episodes, and I would just start bawling. And I'm like, I took a little break, and then I tried it again. I still couldn't do it. So I told everybody, look, I got to take a little break from this. I told my members, cancel your membership. I can't do this for a while. And I don't want you to be paying for membership when I can't even put anything out right now. And then it was just taking me a long time to process the loss. And I'm like, well, this case looks interesting. Let me talk about this. Never imagining I was going to get so deeply involved in it that like I ended up being. But there's no way when all this was going on, they would have looked at me with my tiny little Murdoch channel and contacted me. This wasn't even the kind of stuff I did. I had stories about corruption in South Carolina and husbands killing their wives. I was not someone in their sights to have contacted over this. And if they ever tried to reach out to, first of all, I'm really hard to reach. I've just now lately let people know what my other, like how to find me on X. Just this last week, I let people know about my Instagram. I don't have a public email for people to even reach out to me. Nobody reached out to me. This is nonsense. And if Ezra is saying that, I will say it right now. She's a liar. Thank you, Jane. You were there. You know why I did it. You know exactly what happened because you were there. So yeah, this is nonsense. But let me get through my letter. And I know a lot of you have already read it, but oh, the stamp. So Google in the subpoena, or not in the actual subpoena, in the notice to us about that that it was very brief what Google let us know. They just said, and you know what? Let me, I've got it here. I hate how I have to flick through all this to get to it. It's Exhibit C. Oh no, it's not. That's the actual subpoena. Is it this one? Wow, that's so blurry. I had to really compress it to send it to the court because it had to be less than 10 megabytes. So you can't even read this really. But this is what we got. This is all the information we got. And then it took me 3 emails. This is when they finally responded and gave me a copy of my email. You can see the date when I finally got it. It was just a couple of days ago. So it said Google will produce information related to your Google account in response to a subpoena unless you email a file stamped copy of a motion to quash, and then they give us the email address, by 10 a.m. Pacific time on July 31st, 2025. So that's the stamp I mean. So this motion to quash, so the first thing I did, he rejected my first one, but I had the order he sent me and that was stamped. So I submitted that to Google hoping that would work, that they could see I at least submitted one, and they said, no, that's not enough. It must be court stamped. So that's why I had to keep trying till I got one that was actually admitted on the docket. And now that's all they needed from this man. And I've got it. So now I take that court stamp, because now it's been filed, and I send that to Google, and then it's in their hands till the next, for the next step. So, dear Judge Lyman, of note, there are no non-party rules for submission in the court's individual practices to refer to when filing with the court. So why I said that is because when you submit and you do something wrong, it just comes back to you, and it wastes a day or two before you know that it got refused. So then you have to try again. So if you go just by, there's the federal rules, but every judge in federal court puts out what's called individual practices. And if you followed me for a while, you've seen it. I've brought his up before to show you different things. But it's what tells you how he wants things specifically done in his court. So I looked in there to see, what am I doing wrong? Why is he not submitting this? What are the rules? But the rules, even though they do have a section on pro se, which pro se just means you're doing this on your own without an attorney. They do have a section on that, but it's only for parties. I'm not a party. I'm not even a third party. Like I said, I'm a non-party that a third party was subpoenaed for my stuff. So there was no rules for me to know what to follow. So I was like, look, you keep rejecting this. There's nothing in your rules to tell me what I'm doing wrong or how to fix this. So you're going to have to give me some information if you're going to keep refusing it. While the court is holding us non-parties to the standard of parties by quoting case law intended for parties in its order, namely, and then this part in parentheses is, this is what he put on my order, and use this as the reason why he would not accept an anonymous filing from me. And I wasn't trying to file anonymously. I was asking him to not post my name. I was okay with sharing my name with him, but I'm like, can you keep me anonymous? Because no one has given the court good reason that I should be unmasked. And so he quoted this, and this is an error. I'm not a party, so this does not apply to me. So I say we object to this citation because we are not plaintiffs, nor are we defendants in this case. We are non-parties that have received subpoenas sent to a third party that did not go through the appropriate process to be obtained, and had they, sorry, I moved my microphone again, sorry. And had they would not have met the standard to have been approved. So I've talked about this when I talked about the Doe lawsuits, and also Stephanie versus Meta that's happening in California right now. So everybody who has to appear in court deserves a chance to be represented. So when you serve subpoenas, and this is one of the things that was so wrong with the Doe lawsuit, when you serve subpoenas in a regular lawsuit, no subpoenas are served until after the first meet and confer. The meet and confer is when both sides of counsel meet together to discuss the case for the first time. And at that point, they can start issuing subpoenas. Now, they don't need a judge to say yes or no to every subpoena that they write, because there's opposing counsel. So that if there's an overbroad subpoena, if there's a subpoena that shouldn't be served, there is someone there to represent that person's interest. Now, when you have a Doe lawsuit, or you have a Doe third party or non-party like this, there is no one representing us in the court, and that's not fair. So what that means is the attorneys are not supposed to just issue a subpoena for someone that's not represented. So it becomes the judge's job to represent the parties who are not represented. And that's what we're going to talk about here. It's called the Highfields standard. So when an issue comes up in court, and especially if it's been decided in a higher court, so like an appellate court or the Supreme Court, they become a standard for if it's an issue that keeps coming up time after time, so that each judge doesn't have to sit there and decide each time what to do. If it's already been decided, especially in a higher court, they follow that as a standard. So this standard has already been set. Now, I quoted this one, Highfields, because it's used a lot in California, which is where this should be being dealt with in the first place. So this Highfields, this is one I got from the Stephanie Jones versus Meta, because this is what she's being met with. So this is what that court decided and where this standard was born. The court in Highfields recognized that the First Amendment protects the rights to anonymous speech, particularly online, and that unmasking an anonymous speaker through discovery can chill free expression. To chill expression means to make people too scared to talk about it. It therefore adopted a two-step test for when a party seeks to unmask an anonymous defendant. So you see the title, it's Highfields Capital Management versus who? Versus Doe. So this rightly came before a judge for a judge to decide, do we get to unmask this Doe? That's why this case is so important, because we're now living in the time of the internet when a lot of people are speaking on the internet, and a lot of us don't use our government names for any reason. We don't need a reason. It's our right. So this is the standard that was set. So if somebody tells you that the subpoena was okay how it was, this is what you tell them, okay? Because I've seen a lot of idiots, Blake stands and confused people, and unfortunately some attorneys that I'm seeing their names in my chat. Stop talking about me, you two men. Seriously, you asked me to come on your show. I declined. I didn't tell anybody anything. Just keep me out of your mouths, okay? You two men. I don't talk about you. Anyway, this is not the day to mess with me. So, yeah, because I got messages that they had not so nice stuff. I don't watch them anymore. I don't promote them anymore. I used to. But if they're going to sit over there and come at me constantly, just shut up. Find something else to talk about. Bullies. So, so there's two steps. So this becomes a standard. This is what you have to do. The first thing they have to do, and remember, this has to be a judge. Plaintiff must provide a prima facie case before the court by presenting sufficient evidence to establish an essential element of their claim, just as they would need to survive a motion for summary judgment. So this has a lot here. Let's break it down. Prima facie case, if you're not sure what that means, this is, it's a, sorry, I got mad for a second. Let me get myself back together. Oh, hey, Katie Kane. No, I just always click the wrong one. This proves my suspicion that celebrities are more dangerous than those who take life. This is insane, Kate. Did you hear I got subpoenaed? She's one of my longtime murdos. She didn't follow me into this story because it's not what she's into, but I'm happy to see you here today, Katie. So a prima facie case is that you basically present to the court that you have cause, that you've got a good reason to pursue this legally. So that means that you come to the judge and you say, I need this person unmasked, and these are my reasons. And then the judge decides. And look at the standard. It has to survive a motion for summary judgment. Summary judgment is a high standard to meet. We're not to that point yet in this trial that we're watching. So we saw a motion to dismiss. That's a lower standard. At the end of discovery, then we're going to be in the time of summary judgment. So what happens then is they can say, look, judge, we've seen all their evidence. We've seen what they've got. They've got nothing. They don't have a case. Can you just say we win? I mean, that's a very basic layperson explanation of this. And the judge can rule, and unlike the motion to dismiss, that was just kind of a smaller thing. This is just as good as a jury's verdict. When they rule on if they grant summary judgment, it is a judgment full on in the court. It can be appealed, but it is as good as a jury verdict. So because it's that, the standard is set really high. So these people have to come before a judge. This is what point one is: prove their case well enough that it could actually be ruled on in court. And so this is the first standard, but that's not all they have to do. After that, number two, if a prima facie case is made, the court must balance the strength of the case and the necessity of the disclosure against the speaker's First Amendment interest in maintaining anonymity. So that means that after they do that, so if the judge says, okay, you do have a good case, we're going to go forward with this. Now let's weigh how much they need this information compared to your First Amendment rights. And they have to weigh that. Now, in my case, in our case, all of us content creators, they can get this information from Wayfair. That's who they should be asking. And so this is, I saw the Ezra comment. Sorry. I just distracted me. Tag has a document that is designated attorney's eyes. Oh, so that's why she feels so confident to lie about it, because she knows we can't see it. that allegedly includes content creator. Well, I saw a list that had like Candace Owen and stuff. These people can talk to the press. Blake's team sure talks to the press. What matters is, did they pay, and what did they ask to do? But if this is attorney's eyes only, she can lie all she wants. She could say any of you were on it. She doesn't have to prove it because it's attorney's eyes only. Nice that they protect that, but didn't protect us. She's lying. Ezra, you're lying. If you're watching, you're lying and you know it. So yeah, they have to decide, does the First Amendment right outweigh this prima facie? So I say next, I was not afforded this standard because this subpoena that involves me and everybody else should have gone through this route. A judge should have had to sit there, listen to it, say, oh, yes, you've proven your case. Oh, yes, this is more important than these people's First Amendment rights. Here's my court order. That's the way it's supposed to work. Don't you dare let anybody tell you any differently. You cannot just serve a subpoena straight out like any other subpoena. Why is this standard made? Why does the standard even exist if you can do that? These are the Van Sham people. So I said, I was not afforded the standard. And you know what? That was wrong. And you stripped me of my First Amendment right. Subpoenas were issued from this court, not only failing to meet the standard, but failing to meet any standard. They were just issued. There is no evidence or sound legal basis whatsoever to have issued the subpoena in the first place. Our objections have been clearly noted in our motions to quash that so far have not been allowed into the docket. All we need from this court is a stamp. Once we receive this, we can forward it to the third party that was subpoenaed for our information. This court's demand for our unmasking goes against our First Amendment rights. We would not be in this position if the court had not allowed such a wayward subpoena in the first place. And yet the court demands our unmasking in a case that the entire world is watching. How dare this court? And I mean every word of that, because this was the judge's mistake to even have allowed this. And maybe the subpoenas flew out there without his knowledge in the beginning, but he sure knows it now. Why didn't he revoke it? Instead, he extended and gave this woman more time to do more harm to more people like me. So do I have a right to speak like this to this judge? Absolutely. I will do it again, and I would do it to his face. Don't tell me, oh, you shouldn't have spoken to a federal judge like that. I don't need this guy for anything except the stamp. I got the stamp. Thank you very much, Judge Lyman. And this is a quote from Highfields. When word spreads that people who have committed no wrongdoing, like us, can have their identities disclosed through civil discovery, this kind of chill can be fatal to the use of the internet as a vehicle for free expression. How true is that? How true is that? That's why this standard was put in place, because of that right there. And you know what? If they do come across someone who was paid by Wayfair, guess what? That is on Wayfair. That is still not on the content creator. Okay, there are many cases supporting my stance in my position as a non-party whose information has been subpoenaed to a third party. These are the cases that apply to me. I'm saying that case that you quoted in your order does not apply to me. I am not a party to this. These are the cases that apply to me. So I quote them: Music Group Macau, and I use these in some of my earlier episodes. Some of them came across for the sham lawsuit, and some of them I got, like I said, from Stephanie Jones versus Meta, and some of them I just looked up cases related to these cases and found as many as I could. So the first one, where the court reaffirmed the Highfields two-step test requiring plaintiffs to show a real evidentiary basis. When did Blake show the court a real evidentiary basis, right? For alleged wrongful conduct before proceeding to balance First Amendment interest. Here's my thing. They're not after content creators. We're not being sued. They're saying Wayfair put out a smear campaign on them. That's all on Wayfair. And if Wayfair did it, they're going to have to answer for it. But not us. So this is way off base. If they find some who took money, it's still on Wayfair. It's not on the content creator. But I'll tell you this much, it wasn't me and it wasn't anybody that I talked to. The second one is Smith versus Doe, where the court denied unmasking, where the plaintiff failed to present sufficient evidence satisfying the first Highfields prong, thus not proceeding to the balancing step. The next one, in regards PGS Home Company, in a Section 1782 foreign discovery context, the court cited Highfields to emphasize that allegations and speculation without evidentiary support are insufficient. And that's what they have right now. They have allegations and speculation. Go get it clarified through Wayfair and leave us alone. Then we have Fodor versus Doe. The court applied Highfield's balancing test and found that Doe did not present sufficient evidence to overcome the strong First Amendment interest in anonymity. Then we have Signature Management, where the Sixth Circuit applied Highfield-style balancing and denied unmasking, where harm to anonymous speech outweighed plaintiff's interest. There is very real harm to us and our loved ones, as I very clearly stated in my motion to quash. That's enough to outweigh this nonsense. And then this was the main one, because look at where this one was. I bolded it, italicized, and underlined this. This is in Judge Lyman's court. This decision was already made. And this, like I said, if somebody is stupid enough to say, oh, they subpoenaed them, they can subpoena them. I almost cussed, and I don't cuss. Nonsense. This case right here shows you they cannot serve this on a Doe like us without going through these steps. And this one that took place in Judge Lyman's court is Rose is wild. I cussed for you. But yes, I did. There's a motion to quash here. K Fitch. I did. It's here. This letter was because he wasn't accepting my motion to quash. So, okay. So even more compelling, we have this Sony versus Does. And notice these are all Does, because this is what you have to do. And every single one of those attorneys and that judge knows it. There's no excuse that this happened. So in this case, Sony, now listen how similar to this case, Sony's cases. It's Sony versus Does, right? Sony filed suit against dozens of allegedly infringing users on peer-to-peer networks. To identify the alleged infringers, Sony sought to subpoena internet service providers to reveal subscriber identities. Does that not sound like this? So they're saying, oh, this thing happened. Except in that case, these Does were actually committing a crime. We have not committed a crime. So we're not even on the level of these people. But how did Judge Lyman's court set a standard for this situation? All these people, same thing as us, they're asking the service provider to give their identities, just like Ezra's asking for our identities. It says the court adopted a multi-factor test. So we're not talking about 2 factors like the Highfields. We're talking about 5 now. Similar in structure an underlying purpose to the Highfields standard for evaluating whether to allow the disclosure of anonymous speakers. Sony's test went beyond the Highfields standard, requiring the requesting party to demonstrate. So instead of 2, this is what they have to do. They have to start the same place, prima facie. What does that mean? Actual evidence beyond speculation. This is speculation. If they have a list of names of creators that were contacted, it's still speculation that anybody was paid. They have a right to contact creators. It's that simple. Okay. Where did I leave off? 2, that the subpoena is sufficiently specific to identify only the alleged infringers. You saw the list of people. Like, some of the people weren't even monetized, had how few followers or subscribers. You really think those people were being paid for their little audience? It's nonsense. That there is no alternative means to obtain the information. They're going after Wayfair. Wayfair is a party. They're the ones being accused of this. They are the means to obtain this information. Don't come looking for random content creators and asking to get into our bank to see if somebody might have paid us. Nonsense. Get it from the person you're not prosecuting, but the person that you have this lawsuit with. 4, a central need for the information to advance the plaintiff's claim. Again, you don't need it from me. Get it from Wayfair. A consideration of the anonymous speaker's expectation of privacy and First Amendment interest. These 5, they would have never gotten past these 5. Never. But this subpoena was issued from this court, just ignoring the standard that had already been set in this court, and sent these out, and then I had to put an actual name on here in order to even be heard, even though everything in this standard that he failed to do as a judge who is supposed to be presiding over this case, making sure everything is done correctly, and he failed to do it. And because of his failure, my president was unmasked. And all these other creators are going to have to figure something out too, or unmask themselves, because he didn't do his job. So don't tell me I went too hard on a federal judge. This is wrong. And I am filing a complaint. Let's see. The subpoena issued from this court for my information fails at every level of this test established in this very court. The law recognizes that in order to request this information, a subpoena is needed. Yet this court demands I readily supply it as if this subpoena has already been granted. It has not. It should not be, and it should not have even been issued. The error lies with this court because it does. But demands I bear the burden for this mistake. Okay. Your responses, aside from telling us you will not entertain an anonymous filing, have given little information to go on to respond to a subpoena that issued under the authority of your court. For example, 3 of us have submitted 2 motions to quash, 1 letter of intent. Yet the court did not clarify, because in the order it didn't say who it was talking about. Which one needed anonymized? Never heard of that word, so I hope I said it right. Kindly address us by the names in the wayward subpoena. Yes, wayward subpoena. So we know which submissions need altered, as our time to respond is running short. Because we are at the mercy of this court, in spite of how much we object to the way in which we have been brought into it, I have resubmitted mine on July 17th, 2025, including my name, position with the company, because this is written on from my president of my LLC. I was not personally subpoenaed. Cassidy OC was subpoenaed. It's a registered LLC and it has a president. Including my name, position within the company that has been wrongly subpoenaed, address and telephone number. Do you require more than this? If so, I need further clarification. Oh, I love that. Ezra Hudson lies. Indeed. Indeed. And continues to lie because she knows she got caught. An additional purpose of this letter is to inform the court that multiple non-parties who were served this ill-gotten subpoena are filing a complaint today with the California State Bar against Ezra Hudson. It's already filled out, just waiting for a few people's numbers to, not their phone numbers, but the number they are on they appear on the subpoena, and they will be added and it will be filed this weekend. The attorney who signed it without the appropriate requirements of presenting a prima facie showing before the court. And I'll tell you what, California takes this seriously. You saw the Stephanie Jones versus Meta, how it's going for her trying to get these. It's not going so well like Blake because they mean business over there. Let's see. Passing the two-pronged standard of Highfields required to unmask our First Amendment protected rights to publish anonymously on the internet and without domesticating it to the appropriate court in Sacramento, California, where Google is located. Do you guys remember when the whole Taylor Swift thing came up? Do you guys remember the fight over her subpoena? Do you remember where that took place? On a completely different docket in Washington, D.C., because that's where her firm was served. Her subpoena didn't come to her personally. It went to her law firm, and that's where it was located. And so that's where that particular part needed to be held. This wasn't under Judge Lyman. Do you remember that? Venable? Do you remember hearing about that? And Mr. Tiger Tinsley, isn't he the best? He is the best. If you guys don't know who he is, you got to find out. He's one of the good ones in South Carolina. But let's see, where did I leave out? Oh, Taylor Swift. Do you remember even the one letter was taken off the docket because the judge is like, this doesn't belong on this docket, and he got rid of it because, oh yeah, we got some Tiger Tinsley fans here. That would be amazing. You know what? I would go buy some property in South Carolina to get that man to be able to represent me. I sure would. But yeah, free speech, Ezra. I heard it. And I'm not saying this confirmed. I didn't confirm this myself, so take it like that. It's unconfirmed. But I read it. I think it was on X, or it might have been in my comments on one of my videos that that Ezra had put out something about free speech that had to be taken down or something. I don't know if that's true because she's stomping all over ours, but if somebody knows the true story, you can put that in chat for everybody to see. Okay. Yeah, it's Taylor Swift. Sorry. Keep getting off track. But it was taken out of his docket because it didn't belong there. And that's what should have happened to ours. It should have happened in California. It should have been domesticated to California. And I've covered it in the live, and I'm not going to go through my entire motion to quash today because today I was just going to do the letter. But I am going to, because the live is really long and it's pretty scattered. So I wanted to do like the typical standard when I go through legal documents. I want to do that with my motion to quash, where it's not live. It's just really put together. And so there's not interruptions and stuff. And I'll go through it then, and you'll see what I'm talking about then, that it has to be domesticated. So I'm saying, so keep that in mind. I'm saying this one was not domesticated, and then when I get to that, I'll tell you what that means. So let's see. The contents of the complaint are found in Exhibit A, and I am going to read that today. Miss Lively has been gratuitously, because we all know that's true, allowed to extend her witch hunt for discovery in which she has no evidence to support, and has amended the same subpoena to add members of X on July 17th, 2025. Accordingly, more complaints and motions to quash will follow. We're all going to do it. Nobody's going to sit down and take this. So every single subpoena she puts out there is going to get a motion to quash. And you know what? The court's going to just absolutely love it, aren't they? That they're going to get how many of these? 16 from YouTube and 20 from X so far. Picture all of these all over that docket. We all are going to have our chance to have our say. So everybody can thank Blake and her lawyer, Ezra, for what's going to happen to the docket now, because we all get to have our say. So that's what you get. We're the people who love to run our mouths, right? And now we get to say it on the court docket because you didn't do it right. And we all get to file complaints as well because you didn't do it right. So, where am I? The information she seeks is easily obtainable from the actual parties to this case who have the privilege of being legally represented when dealing with overbroad, inappropriate subpoenas. At this time, we are drafting a complaint against the court as well. And there's my manager, who was brave enough and sweet enough and kind enough to take this blow for me. Based on the sound arguments in this letter, I strongly express my wish for my name. And I put this in here on purpose. Like the other one, I put on the motion to quash, I put big red arrows and say redact my name, because I wanted it documented that I am not okay with this. So I strongly express my wish for my name to be redacted before being filed or supplied to the lively parties. But if the court will only publish or entertain my correspondence, and yeah, because he said that in his order, so I will hate that word till time indefinite. My correspondence by unmasking me against my First Amendment right. I have no other option at this time other than to put the lively parties and this court on notice that I reserve the right to take action for this treatment by them in the future. If anything happens to anyone that I even remotely care about, brace yourselves. Okay, so Exhibit A is the contents of the complaint we're drafting against attorney Ezra Hudson to the State Bar of California. Now on the actual, there's a PDF. It doesn't have a huge amount of space. You have to just put the basics. You're not allowed to put the legal arguments or opinions on there. You're supposed to just state the basics, but you can attach exhibits. So we have the audio file, for example, of the phone call to her office. And we have, and I feel really sorry for the receptionist. She's probably going to get fired, but you could tell from her voice she was very uncomfortable with having to do this. Imagine being the one told by Ezra, this is what you have to say to these people, knowing that it's wrong. If she gets fired, I hope she files a wrongful termination suit. So anyway, so it's a pretty small section you have to say, but then you can attach. So we've got the audio file we've got the transcript, we've got the orders being refused by the court, we've got the subpoena, I've got this letter, and we can all make a statement. And oh, you just left Omar's. Oh shoot, he had invited me on that. I completely forgot. Sorry, Omar. I sent him a link to come on here if he had time. I forgot he was having his, because his time is so different. I remember he said 5 o'clock, and so I thought he was like long done or called it off. But so this is the thing we're going to attach to the complaint, because we can say more this way than what we're allowed to put in the actual complaint, because it's like a little form. We are filing this complaint against attorney Ezra Hudson for issuing an improper subpoena targeting anonymous non-party individuals in a manner that appears intended to chill speech, delay discovery, and misuse the legal process. Her actions violated multiple California rules of professional conduct and disregarded constitutional protections under the First Amendment. These are the facts. Ms. Hudson issued a non-party subpoena through a New York court seeking to unmask anonymous YouTubers and other online speakers. This subpoena demanded highly sensitive data, including banking information, IP addresses, and physical locations, without any supporting factual evidence connecting us to the underlying litigations. So I saw, and you probably all saw too, that there was a list that included Candace Owens' name and Perez Hilton's name. They're not on our subpoena. They were subpoenaed directly. So if she has them on a list, that doesn't help her with our list. I didn't see any of our names on her list. I saw a lot of bigger things, not just YouTube. Yeah, Katie. Katie's got a strong sense of justice as well. I personally don't feel bad for people who choose to work for places they know aren't decent. Everybody has to stop putting up with lousy people. True. I personally wouldn't work for a firm like that thinks it's okay to file sham lawsuits. This is Van Zandt 2.0. This was all a sham. Thank you very much, WC and Michelle. Remember, in the initial conference, Lyman talked about how he thinks it's important for the public to see how their dollars spent in court. He should address how much court time this uses. Yeah. That's 36 and counting that we're all going to have to take up the court's time to deal with this. That's a lot. Okay, let's see. The subpoena was issued without a court order, violating the First Amendment protections governing anonymous online speech. Under the standard articulated in Highfields, this is the standard that's most often used in California, from my experience. I'm not saying that's an absolute fact, but it's the one that came up in every one of Stephanie Jones versus Meta and all of the, because when I get a court filing and it's something new, I love to read the cited cases. That's why it takes me so long. It comes out, and Lauren, you all know Lauren's the first one. She's got it out there. She sometimes, when I'm too tired to read, I know she's going to have it, and I just log on and listen to her read it, so I know what the latest filings are. Mine is never first, but I take it and I look up the sites, because if you followed me for a while, you know I used to love that when Brian Friedman was writing more of the documents, he would always say that the case law, the citations were inopposite because they didn't have anything to do with the case. So, and I always thought that was hilarious, but I always love to look up the case law that's cited, and I like to read the whole thing and get an understanding of why the ruling was made, why this became a standard, that sort of thing. So, I saw this keep coming up in a lot of the California cases. So, and that it talks about that prima facie. We've been through all that. So I won't, and that quote too that I had in my letter is here too. Ms. Hudson bypassed these constitutional safeguards entirely. There was no judicial oversight or prima facie showing The subpoena was issued in the Southern District of New York without jurisdiction over the affected parties or the corporations on which it was served, Google LLC. That's in Sacramento. To defend, no, sorry. It was never domesticated to California, where the subpoenaed corporation resides. I contacted the federal court there. They knew nothing about it, had no record of my subpoena or this case. And then I couldn't believe it. I'm like, are you serious? It's in New York. So I called New York. Oh, lo and behold, that's where my subpoena was from. Agreed, but we have to stand by our personal more or not better than the villains. Yes, that's true. Okay, let's see. Where was I? The subpoena compels anonymous parties to submit motions requiring identifying information such as names, addresses, and phone numbers to a foreign jurisdiction, New York, to defend their anonymity, despite the subpoena being unlawfully obtained and procedurally defective. I showed you why that's so. Why would they have such a standard in New York already established if it wasn't meant to be followed? Does that make sense? No. They do the standards for a reason. You can't just ignore them. But here we go again. Like I said, Van Sham 2.0. You just do what you want in New York, apparently. Miss Hudson's office denied issuing the subpoena on 3 separate occasions. That was to Andy's attorney. So they lied to an attorney. And then the recorded one we have. Let's see. Where was I? I lost track again. Then later claimed that they were unsure via her reception, who states that they were operating under her specific instructions. And we have that on record. I've got the transcript. We've got the recording. We have an attorney statement and a recorded phone call documenting this contradiction, which raises serious concerns under the rules of professional honesty and truthfulness. The subpoena appears intended not to uncover relevant evidence, but to delay her client's deposition and discovery obligations, which the judge granted because Blake gets whatever she wants. Chill online speech that is critical of her client, because I will always believe that they chose specific ones of us that go hard on Blake in this case, as is our right. Impose needless cost, legal risk, and emotional distress on non-parties who were not involved in the litigation. People are having to hire attorneys. They're missing work. It's extremely stressful. Imagine the likes of Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds. We saw what she did to Jennifer Abel. We saw what happened to every single member of the Wayfarer Party. Imagine those people having access to information that's going to affect you and everyone you love. Like I said, what about, we have joint bank accounts. I have a bank account, one that involves one family member and another that involves another family member. You think I want them in my bank? You think my family members are any of their business? Get this from Wayfarer and leave us alone. Bully, Ezra, liar. Violations of California rules of professional conduct. So these are taken directly from California rules of conduct for attorneys. Every state has them. Rule 3.1, meritorious claims and contentions. The subpoena was issued without any factual or legal foundation and made invasive demands of uninvolved parties. The request lacked a good faith basis and violated the standard requiring attorneys to avoid frivolous or baseless legal actions. So a meritorious claim means about the same thing as prima facie. Thank you, Amanda. Blake's lies matter. Yes. Keep fighting the good fight, Cassidy. You're doing an amazing job. Thank you. You know what, you guys, when I did my live the other night and I was so sleep deprived and everything and so completely stressed out, you guys gave me so much strength that night. You have no idea. My body had been so tense, every muscle just rigid for days. And when that live ended, I swear my body just felt, it just went to mush. all of that tension was just gone because you can think one thing in your head, but you still have a fear. But then when you feel support of people or from people, it can change everything. So thank you guys so much. Those of you who were there with me that night or commented later, you have no idea the effect you had on all of us to just build us back up because we were so low that day. I had already had my first motion rejected with the judge saying, no, you cannot do this anonymously. And the moment that happened was just, I hadn't figured out what I could do to protect my family. And I didn't want something to happen to them because I had chosen to speak on YouTube about Blake freaking Lively, people. A man had his daughter and wife threatened and his house, his property outside of his house caught on fire because there's crazies out there. For Blake freaking Lively. Okay, so rule 4.1, truthfulness in statements to others. These are codes of conduct attorneys have to follow. Miss Hudson's office made, did I already read that? Miss Hudson's office made false and misleading statements regarding the issuance of the subpoena. Her representatives denied it was issued, then later admitted uncertainty, despite the fact that it had already been served. They knew. The receptionist might not have, but Ezra instructed them. Such conduct reflects a lack of candor and violates Rule 4.1. Let me grab this before it goes by. Thank you, Laura. Thank you for your courage to stand up to tyranny. You are fighting 3 tyrants, Blake, Ezra, and Lyman. Indeed. Thank you very much. Okay, misconduct, Rule 8.4. Ms. Hudson's conduct, using a subpoena as a tool to harass anonymous individuals and delay litigation, because that's why it was extended, so Blake could send out these 20 more and counting to us content creators. See, she's got mainstream media muzzled. No one on mainstream media is telling the truth, but we are. So she's got to shut us up. Constitutes dishonesty, abuse of legal process, and interference with protected rights, all of which qualify as misconduct under Rule 8.4c. 8.4.1, conduct that violates legal rights. By targeting anonymous speakers without due process and in violation of First Amendment principles, Ms. Hudson infringed upon protected constitutional rights, thereby violating Rule 8.4.1, which prohibits conduct that unlawfully discriminates against or denies individuals the protection of legal rights. My rights were completely, they didn't even exist. They didn't even exist before this court. We were not worth considering to have rights. And then every state has the code of professional conduct, but then there's an overall standard, the ABA. Now, from the ABA, each state prepares their own to go by. So not every state uses every one of them, and California does not have this 4.4a. So it can't, they can choose whether or not to apply this because it is in the ABA, but it is not in California. But it's in here just for good measure, because this is a countrywide standard, but not specific to California. They've chosen not to put it in their code. But it's respect for rights of third persons. And to me, it should be in every state's code, but it's not. So a lawyer shall not use legal means that have no substantial purpose other than to embarrass, delay, or burden a third person, or to obtain evidence in violation of their rights. Ms. Hudson's subpoena had no substantial litigation purpose. It was issued solely to pressure and chill critics through the threat of exposure and court involvement, as the question of whether or not these non-parties had contact or received compensation from Wayfair is a question that should be compelled through the Wayfair parties rather than this archaic witch hunt style of lawyering. ABA Rule 3.2, also not in the California Code, but worth mentioning as possibly a reason to take into consideration. Attorneys must make reasonable efforts to expedite litigation consistent with their client's interests. Instead of moving the case forward, the subpoena appears intended to delay proceedings because, like I said, it was used to postpone the end of discovery, and the court granted it. Specifically, her client's deposition and discovery responsibilities while simultaneously punishing critical online voices. Harm and impact. The subpoena caused severe emotional distress, fear of exposure, and financial harm to the targeted anonymous speakers and their loved ones. It forced uninvolved individuals to engage attorneys to defend their basic right to free speech and anonymity. The process lacked basic procedural fairness, and the legal system was exploited to retaliate against criticism and avoid discovery obligations. Relief requested. I respectfully request that the State Bar of California investigate this matter as a violation of the rules of professional conduct and the ethical obligations that govern all members of the California Bar. Because remember, Ezra is in California. She appeared in New York, pro hoc vitae, which is, operating outside of your state. I respectfully, I already read that. The misuse of a legal process to delay litigation, intimidate critics, and obtain improper discovery from non-parties is serious misconduct that undermines both legal ethics and constitutional protections. And that is the end. Thank you, Vinyl Plate. Thank you so much. So, it's finally on there. I've got my stamp. I can forward this to Google, and we'll find out what comes next. And if we have to hire an attorney for the next step. So that's what we'll see. So thank you guys so much for all of your support, whether it was in super chats or in your wonderful upbuilding comments. And I read my comments. I don't always get to them immediately, but sometimes if I can't sleep, I just open it up and I read. You guys have no idea how comforting it is. So that to me, that's enough. You're here and wonderfully supportive, and I greatly appreciate it. But don't let anybody tell you that these subpoenas were properly served, because you've seen the standards now, even the standard in the very court that issued these nonsense subpoenas. They did not go according to the set standard that must be followed. And so these subpoenas should have never been allowed in the first place. So did I get spicy with Judge Lyman? You better believe it. And I would get spicy to his face, because he's not better than me, because he sits in a robe and gets to talk however he wants to people and decide poorly and not disclose financial things that should have been disclosed. He does not have my respect. I do not have to speak to him respectfully. I am not a party to this case. He did not support me as he was supposed to have done when this should have been brought to him, and he should have ruled in my First Amendment interest, and he did not. So I do not respect this man, and I will not speak. He is a man that has brought harm to me and my friends and possibly my family. I do not respect him, not one bit, and he is not better than me because he wears a robe. I spoke to him how he deserved to be, not even how he deserved. That was as respectful as I could get. Thank you, Anchovy. Oh, to have been a fly on the wall when Ezra and Blake came up with the bonkers idea and reasoning to come for content creation. Exactly. What were you thinking? How did you think this was going to go? And shame on Ezra, because she's a California attorney who knows how California rules on these things, but did it anyway. I hope you have enough to retire on, because you look pretty bad now. Guess when you have no evidence, you have no shame. Yep, that's a good guess. That's definitely a good guess. Where's this? KP, thank you so much. I love you and this whole thing. Yeah, it is. But honestly, if you speak publicly, the anonymous thing goes out the window. Same reason people can be filmed on the street or a Coldplay concert. Please hire a lawyer. No, it's not so. All those case laws I just cited say that I'm protected to speak anonymously. It's my First Amendment right as long as I don't break laws, and I have not broken any laws. So, no, according to the Constitution of this country, no, they had no right to do what they did. So, but yeah, the Coldplay concert, that's what he gets. And did you guys see his apology, by the way? Do you guys know what she's talking about? Or he or she, I'm sorry, I'm not sure. It just says KP. Do you guys know that? Did you see that? That affair that was uncovered in a live concert? And his apology, so-called apology, was such a Blake apology. No, Blake wouldn't even do that, but it was so ridiculous. And all the blame went to Coldplay. What's this man try to sue Coldplay? All these people shouldn't have been out there with your arms wrapped around. Did you see how beautiful this man's wife is? And he's got 3 tiny, beautiful children. And he's out there with his arms around a hag. I was so disgusted. That poor wife. But yeah, what a PR crisis apology. Yeah, it was a terribly written one. He probably took authorship of that himself because I think if either that or he needs better PR because that was a terrible, terrible, terrible response. But anyway, I think I'm going to sleep well tonight. I've got my stamp and I had my say, and I hope that this is the end of it for me. And like I said, I don't even need him to who the the choke me a little bit. The CEO, he had his arms wrapped around his HR person. He was the CEO, and he was there with two. They were both fired. Yeah, I feel bad for their families. That what a way to find out you're being cheated on in front of the whole world. And I mean, there's enough humiliation with that anyway, and then to have it like that, where the whole world sees it probably before you did. It's so sad. But as I was saying, I think I'm going to sleep good tonight. I don't need him to grant my motion. It'd be great if he does, but I don't need him to. I just needed a court stamped and Google to see that officially, legally, I do not give my permission for my information out there. So we'll keep you guys posted however this develops. It's going on till the 31st. I don't know what the deadline is for X people because it's already the 18th and they just got it. Some of them are probably just waking up and getting it today. So I don't know what their deadline will be, but we'll see what comes of all this. It's my hope, and I was willing to take this bullet and be this person. My hope is that by doing this, the court will say, hey, revoke this, quash this, put this to an end. And if not, they get what they asked for, and they're going to have 36 plus the 3 who were served independently. So almost 40 of these filed on their docket. So if you guys got them, fire away. Whatever you're feeling, whatever you want to say, don't go past slander, defamation, anything like that. But you don't have to be respectful. You just, don't cuss or things like that. But you can state your case, and you can state your case strongly. We've seen what gets filed. We've heard hearings. We know strong words are exchanged. She was beautiful, lucked out. Yeah, she's so beautiful. It's such a shame. All right. So, if you know of the ones who were also subpoenaed, and if you want to give them your love and support, they're all pretty freaked out right now. As anyone would be, and also keep checking your emails that you have any social media accounts registered under. Check the spam, check the junk, check it all, and keep checking because you don't know who she's coming for next. So anyway, have a good night, everybody, and thanks for coming to support me again. I really and truly, from the bottom of my heart, appreciate it.